Good afternoon. My name is Joy Branham. I'm telling my quilt story at the McKinney Center in Jonesborough, Tennessee, and today's date is Saturday, May 13th, 2023. I brought my masterpiece quilt with me today. This is not the kind of quilt I generally make. What I do usually is do the kind you throw on the bed. And most of my quilts are made to give away to family anyway. But this one, let me explain about this quilt. This one kind of took on a life of its own. Back in the middle 80s, now we live on top of a mountain in Hancock County, Tennessee, and we had a huge snow. And my husband was in Kingsport and could not get home for a week. So for 1 week, all I had to do was feed the animals, feed the fire, and feed me. And so I decided, well, while I'm home, I will start a quilt. I think I will make a sampler quilt. I've never made a sampler quilt before. So I dug out my stash of reds and greens and started in. Now it was just quite simply going to be a 3x4 block quilt. Like Topsy, it grew. It's just, it literally took over. And I had to draft all the patterns to make them fit. The applique patterns were done with paper folding. The pieced patterns were done with graph paper. The only pattern that I did not develop was the center medallion. I had owned that for several years and never found anything to do with it. But it just ended up perfect. This is the Peaceable Kingdom, which is based on Edward Hicks' early 19th century paintings of the lion and the lamb, and the little child shall lead them. And so now all of the quilting on it, everything, all the applique is by hand, all the quilting is by hand. All of the pieced blocks were pieced on the sewing machine, but everything else is hand quilted, hand appliqued. The only fabric I bought for it was the little tiny print that is on the border and in the corners here. Where you see the close quilting, that's a 1/4 inch apart. And I used 1/4 inch masking tape to stripe that off, to quilt by. The stitches are really close because at the time I was good at that. This quilt took me about 7 years. In 1992, it was juried into the Paducah Quilt Show. Did not win anything, but I figured if I was juried into Paducah, I had arrived. And let's see. All the blocks have different quilting patterns to them. Whatever worked for that. And some I found in magazines and books, and some I just developed myself, and some I expanded. I did the feather freehand, and it came out perfect. Was I blessed or not? And you always need to document your quilt. So that's my label on the back, and it has the verse from the Bible about the wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the little child shall lead them. I said it's my masterpiece quilt. It is also my show-off quilt. It's like, yeah, people, I can actually do this stuff. You might not know it from everything else, but I can. And it has won several blue ribbons and best of shows. Nothing at Paducah, but it's been in several others. And so that's my quilt story.